never know.
There's no glaze on it, so the fire pulls through pulls so hard, it gets like, goes through the chimney, and all of the ashes hit it, and that's what makes clay, it's the ash. And so you see this covering of, this glaze all the way around, and the backside is nothing. And it's like, it's because the ash comes around, yeah. Yeah, fascinating.
My brother-in-law was in the
Jasmine
ceramic
coming?
business in Guatemala for 10 years. So I've got
Yeah.
quite some pieces, but they're all shiny clay.
Yeah, glaze, yeah, yeah.
So,
But this, the glaze is really
I'd love to
yeah,
see that.
it's really interesting.
Stuff in there.
We used to do, because I used to take pottery, we used to do a firing, it was called porcelain. So
Yeah.
it was like the porcelain pottery, you
Yeah.
just buff it out, you make it look smooth, and when you heat it up, you just put good porcelain
Yeah.
ware on it, and just put like pretty little
Pretty little
things
lines
all
on it.
over it. So
Yeah.
it'd be white with the black.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the smoke, yeah. And raku was one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Fire, he was my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Fantastic, yeah.
Which is with the glaze, and then they fire it and take it out, the
Yeah.
Japanese style
Yeah.
firing, yeah.
Oh,
That's my absolute favorite.
yeah.
I just want to tell everybody in the audience that if you would please take your phones and completely shut them off. That would be help while our meeting is going on, okay? You too, sir.
How are you, Miss Diaz? I'm not. Well, hey, Faith and I took care of that on the way in. So we're just
We're not ready.
Okay, all right.
I can't complain because this winter I can't make this.
Oh, see,
So
you're,
my husband-
you're the one who did that. I was wondering who did it.
Sure.
Good, how about yourself?
And, oh, so-
It was really cool.
It really,
It was exceptional.
I've been here 50 years and I want to tell you, this is the first time
I would keep it like
that
this
I had to
big.
eat my head before I could get in.
I grew up in East Kansas, San Diego, so you get the summers up to 105 and winters really cold.
San Diego is up
I'm trying to make sure that it's not like.
East County, that's right. My girlfriend used to live there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
What part of this county?
Lakeside.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we would, high school athletics, you start training 10 weeks before school starts, and you're out there.
Well, I look at the kids here in town, I go, this guy's in for the kids are just mad, it's hot.
What helps you get endurance?
Yeah.
You don't know they need it. Oh.
No, did anybody read that story about the young football player in today's paper? He didn't know his name was wrong. And it just went through absolutely fine.
No, I said it.
And he was painful. But he said he went to Loma Linda and he's on the road to recovery. It's only been 4 months.
You know, I went there for my wedding.
Yes.
I know, I had never been so impressed.
Oh, yeah, that place is fabulous. My husband had opened my
It's like Boston had a choice and my late husband had to open my choice. Because I,
Yeah, but
well, not there,
No,
back east,
yeah,
back
okay.
east.
So we've been through it.
I didn't hear, my father, when he had his done, this was in the early 70s, they were just doing it.
Well, when Jim had his, they weren't doing it here in the desert, so
No.
they said,
Yeah.
you know, you can either go to LA or Loma Linda.
Actually, Jim has done in LA, his second one. No, at, Good Samaritans.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she's always,
I knew it. Nobody.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the VillageFest Board meeting. My name is Dottie Watson, I'm the chair. So I call to order our meeting on April 23rd, 2019 at 3:30. Roll call. April, what did I say, May?
But you said 19.
Oh, okay.
Chair Watson,
Here,
Vice Chair Campbell,
Here.
Board Member Meredith is currently absent, Board Member Manley,
Here.
Board Member Montanti is currently absent, and Board Member Ball.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Oh, okay. All right, the next thing that we can do is anybody in the audience can come up and do some public comments. It's strictly speaking regarding anything about our board or the Village Fest downtown. You'd have 3 minutes. Is there anybody that would like to do that? No, okay. Okay, board comments. I do have some.
Okay.
I went over to City Hall the other day, and there are probably 4 applicants for our open seating, and they're going to be interviewing in May. I know, so.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Correspondence.
We have none.
Okay, the next thing is the consent calendar. The following routine matters may be acted upon by one motion. Individual items may be removed from the consent calendar by the members of the board for separate discussion and vote. Do I have a
We
motion?
accept the consent calendar as written.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Okay. All right, the next thing is all of you in the audience turn. All right, the first one coming up is Red Panda, Arts and Crafts, Raphael Petrosani. Did I say that right? Okay.
And he's a current vendor.
Yes. Sorry, I did see that. Okay, current vendor.
Welcome.
Hold the mic close to your mouth and just tell us about the new articles.
So we started making T-shirts with our own designs that we currently sell on our cases, and then her mother is helping us make the bags, and we put our own designs on the bags.
Oh, these are gnarly.
So yeah, we have 3 separate sizes for the bag, and there's like I think 6 or 7 different patterns, but we also have solid colors.
This is a backpack.
Do you take part in making these also?
Yeah.
Cut the pattern. So she has a master pattern for me. I just cut it out and I'll do the straps.
Okay.
Cut it out.
Oh, and there's a zipper there. How
They're nice,
very
nice and sturdy.
It's all made canvas, cotton canvas.
Yeah, I can see that. Very nice.
Oh,
Yeah, and then the black one is the one where we put our own design on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. Very
Same
nice.
process as a t-shirt.
Yeah.
You just
She's a good seamstress.
How do you
Yeah.
do this?
It's a it's a
Machine?
printer.
Okay,
it's a print.
It's a printer that prints
Yeah,
on
the same
fabric.
design on the
all right.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. Here's their folder.
Oh,
Oh, that's nice.
nice quality. What do you sell at your booth right now?
We have these cell phone cases,
Okay.
the wood ones, and we put the same designs that are on the shirts. We put them on the cases, and we have wood sunglasses
Oh, okay.
and like wood earrings.
Okay. Nice addition.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
You? No?
I
You
have
already
no
just did.
questions. Yeah.
Anybody else? You have any questions?
No.
Okay, I need a motion so we can get into
Move
conversation.
we accept this vendor?
A second.
Any thing that we need to say?
I don't
No?
think so.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none.
Thank
Okay.
you guys.
So,
There you
see you
go.
on the street with the bags, guys, and the t-shirts.
Okay, Birkenstock Comfort, Tower Green, Downtown Merchant.
Faith, did they get their paperwork or didn't they get any?
They're already
Oh,
Yeah, but I didn't know if you had something for them.
No, not if they're already in there, no. But thanks for coming.
So I think there might have been some misconfusion with this, like we had, when we started off,
You can take that mic off so you
yeah,
can
kinda
walk
short.
around.
When I started off, there was my assistant manager actually came before and did all this.
Closer.
Gabriel. But the top half of my letter, which is she'll pull out the Pura Vida, Gooder, Lotus and Luna. Most of it's bracelets, sunglasses, small items. And then we have 3 small flip-flop racks that we have the flip-flop samples for. The rest of our brands that are in the store, we don't want to bring that product out to the booth. We actually would just like to, if one of our major brands came to us and wanted to do a trunk show, we actually wouldn't sell at the booth. We would just be able to have them have like a displays out of their brands just to show off their brand, tell our customers and in our town about that brand and why it's a brand that, is in our store, the comfort levels. They can actually order from inside our store. So that doesn't happen often. We do it every once in a while if they come to us and ask to do a trunk show. We try to do those trunk shows mostly in our store during the week, but every once in a while, some of our big ones know that we do street fair, and they like that representation of the whole town being out and walking down the street. But on a week-to-week basis, these small items are what we carry. We want to carry every week out at the booth. And sometimes we do switch out our flip-flop racks because it's a small booth. We don't put like 6 racks out. We'll put 3, and we like to just alternate the flip-flops depending on what we have more stock in that week inside the store. So that make sure there's enough out there for the customers that are downtown to shop from. We can open that. That's the kimono that we actually got the complaint about.
So all these items you do always carry at your store?
Yes, everything here we have inside our shop.
And the trunk show, if it's a Thursday night, you direct people into your store?
Typically, yes. We don't sell anything at a trunk show.
They do not come into the booth?
They do, they would be stopped at the booth because of whatever, like if they had displays and stuff out there. And if that's not something we can do, I have no problem with not doing it.
Well, let me get that straight. So if you have a trunk show, they do come out into the booth?
It would be a table set up with that brand specifically, with like displays from that brand, where they would just, if they wanted to try something from that brand, they could go into the shop. Like I said, if that's an issue, I don't mind not doing it at all.
Let's talk to staff about that. That technically is an issue, is it not?
Yeah, and it very rare, like if it were to happen, we obviously are a store we need to make money, so we're not gonna always do something that we're not
Okay.
making money
Jasmine?
off of.
It's difficult for staff to manage.
Right.
So part of the downtown merchant category was to showcase items that are available in the store, and those items should be available in the store at all times. So if they have some sort of special event, we on a staff level would rather them present something to the board and get the board's approval, because it's out of the norm of just the items that are available in your storefront on a consistent basis. So if it doesn't happen often, then and maybe they don't even need to appear, but they could send a letter and it could get onto your next agenda. You could review it and decide whether that's something that you want to see out at the street fair or not.
And those would be marketing. My marketing puts together a calendar, so it is something that I could come here actually ahead of time and present if I needed to.
Again, to staff, isn't that kind of opening slippery slope?
Yes,
Yeah.
again, it's difficult for staff to manage.
Well, not only that, but if we do one, then any other store downtown can do the same, and then we're out of control. Yeah.
It's difficult to manage, yes.
I'm fine with it
So,
being a no
yeah.
on that. That's
I mean,
completely
you can
fine.
certainly have, if they're in your store the day of that,
Yeah.
you can refer people to go to your store.
Okay, yeah, so they
And
could
that
have
way
like
it kinda-
they could have maybe like
Yeah.
pamphlets out at
I mean,
our normal kind of
You
booth
can
kind of thing.
understand what our problems
Oh,
are.
absolutely, yeah.
So as long as we're clear on that, yeah.
Sure.
Because your stores, where are you in proximity to?
Right next to C's.
Our
No, I know where the
our
store is.
booth is right in front of our
Oh,
store.
well, then it's no problem. You just say, go through the door.
Yeah, and we do that when there's not product outside.
Okay.
Like they're like, we don't have a size, just go behind us. So, and it has. I mean, we've been doing this for 4 years. It's been a huge benefit for our
Okay.
storefront as well.
No,
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is good, but
Yeah.
putting it out on the street, I think it's
your
it's
store.
just
Absolutely,
gets too confusing, and then other people on the street will be, driving us crazy.
no problem.
Anyway, okay. Anybody have any questions?
No.
All right, let's have a motion then.
I move we accept this vendor.
Second?
Second?
Can
And
we
I-
can just confirm exactly what it is that we're
Yeah,
we're
make the
approving?
motion, yeah. Who made the first motion?
Because the
You?
request has a list of,
So the first half is everything I brought. So the Pura Vida, which are bracelets, Gooders, sunglasses, Lotus and Luna is the kimonos and bracelets there. Ufos are flip flops, Rainbow and Choco are flip flops, and then Sack Roots are purses and wallets.
So everything you brought is on the list?
Yes, on this small.
and
Okay.
all of these items are available in your storefront?
All of
Right.
them.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll make a,
I'll make a motion, but I don't have the list in front of me as far as the
I have it
items
here
that
if
she
you
said.
want me to pass it around.
well,
Do you
you
need
can
it?
make a
That's
motion
okay.
saying everything on the list.
Everything
Well, everything on the top half of the list.
Yes.
Yeah, top half.
Yeah.
And then specify that if there is a trunk show, they cannot be out.
They could send a letter if
Yeah.
they wanted to, they could. send-
I'm fine with just saying no to that
I think it
altogether.
gets too
It makes it
complicated.
easier. Mhm.
Okay, so amend your motion to that, and that'll be great.
So we just make a motion to accept the items that are on the top part of the list. And that's it.
Yep.
And trunk show
And there,
cannot be on, in the
and the trunk
booth.
show would not be available.
Okay.
at the booth.
Thank you. Okay, and we had a second?
And I second that.
Okay, well, any more discussion on this? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Okay.
So the minutes reflect that appropriately.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one up is Stephanie
Uh-huh.
Gray?
Go back to her.
Oh, all right, she's not here yet. Okay, the next one is Jim Kidney, Antiques, rejuring.
So staff went out and viewed this vendor booth the last 2 weeks. We did receive a complaint whether their product that was being sold out on the street was actually completely vintage or antiques, which fall into a very specific category for the board. So I did take some pictures at the board's request. I'll pass them around so you could take a look. I've had a conversation with the vendor, and he would like to present a couple options to the board. We brought him back very quickly because he is headed out for the summer season to do some buying of products, which also impacts his position at VillageFest. So we wanted to definitely bring him back to give him that option. So I'll hand it over to you.
Welcome.
Yeah, go ahead. We would prefer you do that anyway. Too complicated the other way.
This is the stuff that's in your booth. I know staff has talked in the past about it is very difficult on a staff level to determine what is considered vintage or antiques. So that is a problem that we've run into multiple times. It's not a new issue. But just so that you're aware, this is some of the stuff that they have in their booth, and on a staff level, we do not know if it's considered vintage or antiques.
Well, antique they have to be 50 years old.
Correct.
And vintage, I forget what that was.
I-
Same thing,
It's saying 50.
same thing. Yeah, because I before we came, I did read the, so, for all the new people, that's what that means. Okay, here.
Oh, nice.
I brought less than I did the last time.
Are these things the ones you're carrying now, or what you want to do when you
She has
come?
Pictures of the booth.
Well, the phone thing went off.
Actually, both,
Okay.
both.
You can make it bigger. God, how do we tell? I don't.
It's just really hard.
So these are some of the product. always been difficult on a staff level, because we.
Well, because of this,
It's just not appropriate.
age, what did we do in the past?
It's always been an issue. Luckily, we only have, I don't think we've ever had more than 2 on the street at any given time.
How many do we have now?
Usually 2, and then we have someone who sells clothes, right?
Yes, but just as far as jewelry, it's just, the clothes is hard too. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a discussion when they first came. I got some earrings in here if you wanna see them. I'll save some time.
Yeah, Jim, if you can pass a couple of those around, that would be great.
You wanna see individuals, you wanna see a grouping?
Oh, just one
Well, no, we're
necklace
gonna have
and,
to look at it all.
yeah, and a couple of rings, can you pass those? Whatever, yeah, like that, that's
Over here.
perfect,
We'll start over here.
Let's, like,
great.
find that anywhere.
Oh,
Start here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, they're beautiful.
This is,
Yeah, that's enough, now just a necklace, that gives us an idea. Oh,
Um,
God.
Well, this was an easy one to see
Yeah,
from
That one
there.
is.
uh-huh.
Beads are beads, so I'll pass these two along.
Mm.
That's beads. This is a belt. Okay, wait, is this on? While you're looking at that, can I address the issue?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jasmine brought information to me that they had received a complaint that not everything was vintage. And I'll be upfront with you, this late in the spring, we brought in some non-vintage merchandise. And we're guilty, and I will fess up to that and make immediate corrections to that. What I wanna do though is to briefly tell you how we got there. And that is, we're with Antiques, we have cases in Antiques Galleries.
Right.
We had done Antiques Galleries 2 to 3 years ago as part of Street Fest. And Antiques Galleries paid for the booth, insurance, etc. And they asked for volunteer vendors to man the booth. And so we were one of those volunteers. Based on the history of that is how we projected what we might do at the street fair if we took on the entire responsibility ourselves, which we went to Antiques Galleries and asked them if we could use their name, promote the gallery, but also show our merchandise. We had made a trip last spring, same May and June. We we shopped 40 or so antique and vendor stores all the way across the country, as well as we've got a couple vendors that specialize in estate jewelry and estate product and happen to have a lot of Native American. We overbought thinking that we'd be able to do this at the street fair. That's kind of the background. The sales history of that background is that many nights at the street fair, we would be skunked, literally sell nothing. And for us, to do a really good night was $100. So, but we weren't necessarily there to make any money. I mean, we weren't paying for the booth if we could cover a little bit expense and it's our time and we're promoting, et cetera. However, I'm paying for the booth now and I'm paying for the insurance and I want to do business. And so therefore we set it up. But we came to you knowing Antiques Galleries, not necessarily knowing the rules of any other categories. And I was informed by Jasmine, we're a subcategory, which I didn't even know what that meant at the time until, like I said, I read further about the rules. So now I know that we're a subcategory. But I'd like to give you an idea of the learning curve that we've gone through this year, because one of the questions that came up when we presented it is, do you have enough merchandise to sustain you for the winter season, which is what we're committing to? Well, I anticipated if we could sell maybe $300 a week times 4 is $1,200 minus your rent, et cetera, that we could make some money and still promote the gallery. However, it far exceeded our expectations. The first night in October, we did over $1,000.
That's great.
Sure,
I was absolutely blown away, shocked.
yeah.
I'd set up all the merchandise on a table, so I had it all set to go out. we couldn't even get the merchandise out at 5:30, and we had people wanting to buy stuff. That's a good indication,
Yeah.
but you're scrambling to kind of keep up
Yeah.
with what's going on. Then I thought, well, it's just an aberration. We did sell one very expensive item. It was a kachina like this. Sold it to a European tourist gentleman. It was $300. But even so, 300 minus, or I mean, 1,000 minus
Right.
300, $700 was still far and away what we had. So we went out the next couple of weeks thinking that, I want to do the average of about $500. Well, the next 2 weeks was $1,000 again. And it wasn't any big items, it was just assorted inventory. So then we get, and I won't go through the whole year, but we get to November, December, and a lot of vendors downtown had told us this is a poor selling time because people are out, shopping centers, big boxes, et cetera, et cetera. That was not our experience. Our December was fantastic. So the only thing that really slowed us down was the bad weather in January and
Yeah, right.
February. And we lost
You're
4 or
right.
5 weeks out of
Yeah.
8 weeks in
Yeah.
January and February.
First
And I'm
time.
thinking, okay, it's a bad thing because I'm not doing sales, but it's a good thing because I'm not going through my inventory as fast. However, at that point, our tables were getting kind of sold down. And we added some non-vintage merchandise. Now, having said that, the items we added in were things that would mix well with what our current inventory was. It wasn't until we came back in March and all of a sudden we hit warm weather and the streets were full and our business, again, took right off. Now, I'm not saying we did $1,000 every week we were there. Because I wanted to average about $500, and we've been averaging between $500 and $700. We had a couple weeks at $300 and so on, so
It's
it's,
a 1 minute warning.
oh,
That's all right.
1 minute warning.
Just, we have nobody else, so go ahead.
I appreciate the board allowing me some more time, because going back to what Jasmine said, I'd like to give you a proposal
Okay, go ahead.
going forward. So anyway, in March, we added some non-vintage, and I might also add, starting in December, we were stripping all of this merchandise out of our cases at the gallery, replacing it with other things, but bringing it to the street fair in order to maintain the integrity of what the product was. We had 50% of our product was probably Native American, and I had probably 10 or 15% today. So we took out quite a bit, just to give you an idea. I know we pushed the boundaries of our inventory, and I apologize for it. I take ownership to it, and like I said, it can be corrected immediately. We're paid through April, so we're virtually over with for the season, and we're leaving May and June to go and do our product. So I guess the thing I want to leave you with is that the entire learning curve and the experience that we had with Street Fest was far and away different than what we had experienced before or what we could project, and it was overwhelming. Having said that, the merchandise that I showed here, to give you an idea, everything on this is vintage. Everything on here is not vintage.
I figured that, yeah.
And so when you mix, and everything on this and this is vintage. Everything on these two, which I didn't pass around, I could do that real quick, are not necessarily reached to the level of vintage.
Oh, okay.
But, like I said, it's a good mix of what we've
Yeah.
done and what we've tried to do. What I would like to ask the board is to explore the possibility
of other vendors within their store, the people that buy a space in that store.
Okay, hypothetically, they cannot, yeah, we've had that before.
Oh, okay.
The intent when they created the downtown merchant category was to provide a sense of ownership on the street and not feel as if they are inconvenienced every week by But it was, the intent behind it was different than,
Yeah.
we just want to find ways to go behind the rules and get onto the street fair.
That's not what I wanted to do.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better solution for you, but,
You know, I think we're all pulling for you. It's just
I
that we have
mean,
to stay
because
within the
your things
rules.
are
So
beautiful.
it's just,
Well, like I said, it said board exception and so on, and so I thought I would ask because I
Yeah.
didn't know how rigid, you know, like I said.
well, it's not that we're
technical
rigid.
box.
We have rules and regulations. I got it right here, and we've got to follow it, unfortunately.
I tried to follow what I could.
I know, and I liked your honesty, you know, like if you can come in with enough of antiques and take out everything, then you can still be on the street.
So
so-
how would I go about doing that? Am I still approved, and if I had enough and set up in October, I could?
Well,
notify
technically,
you
he
of
is
the
approved as an antique, but yeah.
Right, yeah, no, you can continue with
You can
your
continue.
antique products,
Okay,
yes.
My second issue is we prepaid things ahead of time, and I paid easily 2 to 3 weeks ahead, month by month. I realize I don't have the inventory, and I've already paid you my $300. Is that refundable if I don't go?
As long as you let us know before that month starts, and we can move it to another month or issue a refund.
The rules state, as long as you let us know before the month starts,
Before the
Months.
month or before the first Thursday of the month?
first Thursday of the month.
I wasn't aware of that either. I was
It's in the
afraid-
rules and regulations, it's written out.
I can only digest so much.
I know, I know.
Your vendor has been a little bit-
I don't know the rules and regulations per, you know, I have to keep going to it, but, yeah. So-
Happy shopping
you know.
this summer.
So technically, so you're gonna be going for the, summer months, is that it?
Just May and June.
Okay,
You get into
so,
July and August, and all the tourists have been.
Right.
Yeah.
so technically, you're still on the street when you come back if you bring just antiques. So when you come back, then you can talk to, staff and decide. You got the summer to do that. And you're liable to find a lot of nice stuff.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah,
we do too. Yeah.
yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Because it's and I like your honesty. Thank you for being honest about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need to, Jasmine,
No, it's still the same.
do we need to do a motion? No, because he technically, yeah, okay.
Yeah, technically, nothing's changed.
Okay,
He's just
nothing's
gonna
changed.
maintain his, status as an antique / collectible
Okay, Jim, I'm gonna
vendor.
be rooting for you this summer. Go and
Yeah.
find it.
Well, and like I said, sometimes when you see things from, people that do estate sales, you can't really tell if it's, you know, this necklace here, I know it's over 100 years old, because I know the turquoise and when it was mined. But when it comes to, let's say, another item here, that, I don't know if I can
Yeah,
specifically
but a
state
lot of the things you
rules.
just look at, and I could, you know, I guessed on the rings and I guessed on those 2 necklaces. I didn't look at the bracelets, but, yeah, there's a way, I don't know, there's something that tells you it's old, you know, but, don't you think?
Is this-
Anyway. I would say no, but,
Yeah, this is from the 60s and 70s.
Uh-huh.
oh,
This
so
was-
it's
this
not,
was- This was so tarnished before we even got it.
oh, okay.
Oh.
You know, and it's Zuni, so we know
Yeah.
who it is. I actually say the leather is so cheap on it, I can't believe it, but it's still a $400 item.
Yeah.
400?
Beautiful.
Oh, my goodness.
This bracelet, of course, it looks very old because of the type of turquoise. That's a $400 bracelet.
And how old is that one?
This one,
Is it, it looks like an antique to me.
this, I could tell you, well, you can look at it from the, a lot of it is the weight of the silver, but also the turquoise.
Yeah.
Because you don't mine this turquoise in today's world, so this could easily be from the 30s or 40s. You know?
Yeah, I would have guessed that would be over 50 years old. Okay, thank you, Jim, and good luck this summer, and hopefully you'll be back on the street, or you'll find a little store somewhere downtown to rent. Okay.
You had mentioned our owners own a store. I don't know if it falls within that area or not, or how
I don't
that
know.
works.
No.
I just see it driving by. Just-
Oh, well, they own buildings downtown.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do retail or
Yeah.
shops, you know?
Yeah.
They're landlords.
Yeah, and I think.
They're
that's
landlords,
stretching.
yeah.
I think it's stretching what you're doing.
Yeah, because it means, downtown means downtown merchants,
Right.
not downtown owners.
Right.
Okay, Jim, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is unfinished business, VillageFest youth poster.
So we placed unfinished business, the youth poster contest, but Joy's not here, and I think she is going to head that committee
heading
forward.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay, so we'll just put it on hold, and I will follow up with her to see if she needs any staff assistance before our next board meeting.
Okay, good. Any new business? None. Reports and requests, nothing from the public, the board. Anybody?
Just,
Joy and I submitted our compliance recommendations to staff, and they will get back to us, and we should have something to present at the next meeting.
Great.
and then for social media, we're meeting tomorrow to go over the template and discuss resources and messaging. And one thing that I was just briefly discussing earlier today was about messaging. Sometimes the street can be very slow, and it's a hit or miss day and such. And we have some brilliant vendors that are on the street. And so, so in our messaging, we have to take a look at attracting people, having people come in, locals come in, tourists come in, but not just to come down to the street, because it was packed on Thursday, but every vendor had a bad night, and that happens. But our messaging, not only to get them to come in, but also to support the street vendors, support the food vendors, support the local restaurants and the local retailers. So the messaging that as we develop it, we want to make sure that we say, it's not just one thing to come downtown. It's support these people. They're putting their heart and soul into what they're doing, whether they're a retail store or also a booth on the street.
Great.
Absolutely.
Well, no Main Street comments, okay. Staff report?
So I just wanted to touch on a few things. I missed the conversation at your last board meeting regarding the palm trees that fell.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of, from my history of the palm frond concerns, is that the city has had in kind of a bit of an ongoing, offgoing as to whether the trees, the palm fronds in downtown Palm Springs, need to stay in their native form, which is the full palm frond skirt. And I think the compromise that was made a couple years ago was that annually we will trim them, but they don't want the entire palm fronds skirt taken off. It is a bit of a safety hazard when it is windy, and we have had some really, really windy seasons this last few seasons. So it is a bit of a safety hazard, and that is typically one of the reasons that the fire department will shut VillageFest down, is when those palm fronds start to fall. And that's before this year was the only reason we got shut down. We didn't shut down for rain because it never rained that hard, but we did get some wind. So it is somewhat of an ongoing discussion. If this board wants to make any sort of recommendation, if you feel as if it is an extreme hazard and you want to make that recommendation, we have that ability. We can send that forward to council. I do know that it has been a very continuous discussion for years as to what those palm fronds the skirts should look like in the downtown area.
Do you mind if I comment on that?
It's kind of tradition. I mean, I've been here a long time, and
It's very.
and I think whatever we would say, the city is not going to want to cut those.
Well, I don't want to discourage you from having those conversations or making a recommendation if you feel it's necessary. You never know what
Yeah.
what
sure.
it means. I
think,
would tell you that it
Thankfully,
has.
they shut down the street when there's wind,
Yeah,
so-
typically that's what
I think
happens,
that was
is
a
when
fluke, yeah.
those palm fronds start falling is when the fire department says this is a safety
Go
hazard
home.
and
Yeah.
we need to shut down.
one thing to consider is maybe the, I don't know if it'd be Parks and Rec who would be looking after them, but someone go out there like on a monthly or bi-monthly base, or every other month basis, to see which ones are weighted and heavy and have potential. You know, just a quick eyeing, because just from where we were standing over near H&M, there was one right across the street from the one that had fallen. And that evening, there was, as it fell, there was this crying of a kid, and hundreds of people ran over to it. And so people's initial thought was that there was a child buried, and so it was really frightful, and it was very disturbing to everybody around. It was
Absolutely.
really disturbing, but maybe it's a matter of suggesting to the council that we step up the review of the palm trees just as a preventative measure, just because
An inspection.
Yeah, an inspection. Yeah, and whether I don't know what that period would be advisable, like every month, every 2 months, but that way, because being on the street, just looking across from that one spot, there's another one that looks like it's ready to go. You know, it's like looking at it's heavy. It's yeah.
So
And
maybe
we
an
do have some windy
inspection.
days. So
Suggest
what I
that for
can
now?
do is, the person who's responsible for those, we have a contractor who actually does the maintenance of them. I don't know what that contract looks like in terms of how often they come out and when they do their trimming, but I can email the director of facilities and maintenance and let her know that the board has some concerns, and I'll send the photos of the incident that occurred.
Okay.
And maybe she can give me some feedback as to what that looks like in terms of how often it happens, and if there are any options for better preventative maintenance to them. And then I'll bring that back to the board.
Okay, great.
Okay, I think that's a good idea for now, yeah. Because it's like the rain this year. We never got that, and we've never had that other problem, so it's been an unusual year.
It is.
Maybe we have to have the street blessed.
Sage it.
Yeah, do a sage. We'll go to Joy's store and get the sage and go up and down the street. Okay, and that's it. No more staff reports. Okay, I need a motion for adjournment. Oh, goodness.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We adjourn at 4:15.